So Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves was directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis DeLay, and it stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Regé-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. And this movie follows a group of thieves who try to get revenge on this con man who kind of betrayed them at one point, and they must stop him and his evil plan and try to find an artifact during the whole thing. So this was a movie it wasn't really on my radar. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't really play the game itself or really any game that's kind of like that. The cast sounded interesting, and I was kind of interested because Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis DeLay previously directed Game Night, which was a movie that I thought, going into that, I thought, it looks like it could be fun, but then I was just blown away by that movie. I thought that movie was really good, and I do watch it occasionally. So I was definitely intrigued by this, but I was going to see, if it was, going to be, a full-blown comedy, or it's going to be, a movie that's going to be, mostly catering to fans of Dungeons & Dragons. And, honestly, this movie is just a good time. I really enjoyed this movie. And you don't even need to be a fan of the game to really get into this movie. I don't play the game at all. So, I was definitely really pleased with this movie. This movie's a lot of fun. So, what works in the movie? Mainly the actors do a really good job. Chris Pine's really good. He's really funny in this movie. Michelle Rodriguez, she's surprisingly really good in this movie. I thought her action scenes are really good. Even her dramatic scenes are pretty good. They have great chemistry throughout this movie. As far as the other characters, Justice Smith is also really good in this movie. I feel like he's gotten a bad rep from movies like being in the Jurassic World movies. Here, he makes it up. He's actually really good in this movie. He's really funny, and there are several lines where I kind of relate to that a bit. Sophia Lillis, I thought she was really good for her performance. Regé-Jean Page, he's not really in the movie too much, but he was definitely very funny. He was definitely very dry with his humor, but he did a really good job. Hugh Grant in this movie is also really funny in this movie. He has the villain. Hugh Grant, he was in Paddington 2, and I feel like he's been kind of trying to recapture that villain role again from that movie. And he's really good at it. He's really good at playing these cartoonish, over-the-top villains, and here he's also really good in the movie. As far as as their chemistry is also really good. The chemistry between all the main characters is also really good throughout. I do really like that throughout the movie. And honestly, this movie is just fun, and it's also funny. There are moments where I was just laughing because of something that was just said that was absolutely hilarious. And it's also it knows its main goal is just to be fun. And I'm just this movie's a blast. I don't even care that this movie's over 2 hours. This movie is just fun and funny throughout. I'm having a good time watching it. I kind of didn't want it to end. And I feel like it didn't take itself too seriously. I feel like a movie like this could have taken itself too seriously. Kind of like the 2000s version of Dungeons and Dragons, where they try to take itself too seriously and wound up being unintentionally hilarious. This movie knows it's we should just go for straight comedy, and that's what it does. And I feel like that was the best approach to take. And also, I kind of like the use of the game, where it's I kind of got a little bit of the game, where it's oh, this is how you're supposed to do this, and how you're supposed to do this. And it's I kind of got that from this movie. It's okay, so it's oh, it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. It's they have all these complicated rules, and it's oh, you can only do this if this happens, and you can only do this if this happens, and such. That I thought was really clever. And it's okay, so it's you're kind of playing the game, but you're not. And I feel like this movie doesn't necessarily dumb down the game, but it just makes it accessible. I feel like this movie could have easily just been oh, we're just going to be really complex, we're going to be over the top in the worst ways possible. But no, this movie is it's straight fun. It's just fun for over 2 hours. It's a really fun time. So, is there anything in this movie that I kind of didn't care for? Well, even though I did like the performances of some of the actors Hugh Grant and Regé-Jean Page, I felt like they weren't in the movie enough. Hugh Grant, he's in the movie at the very beginning. He has 1 or 2 scenes in the movie afterwards, and then he doesn't appear again until the finale, which I'm I kind of wish they used Hugh Grant a bit more. I never thought I would say that, but I wish they did. Also, Regé-Jean Page, I felt like they could have used him a bit more. I don't think he appears in this movie until an hour into it, which I'm surprised by that. And his character, his dynamic with Chris Pine is also really good. Kind of wish there was a bit more of that. And also Chloe Coleman, who's supposed to be Chris Pine's daughter in the movie, and the reason why he's doing everything in this movie, she kind of has about as much screen time as Hugh Grant in this movie. So I was kind of disappointed that she didn't really have much more to do in this movie. And also, for a movie called Dungeons and Dragons, ironically, I was kind of disappointed in the dragons. There's one dragon that's supposed to be intimidating and supposed to be very deadly and very evil and such. You don't even get to see the face of it. You just kind of see it at the top throughout, and it's just breathing. It's just, throwing acid down and such. I kind of wish we saw that up close a bit. There's another dragon that's like made of stone. It kind of reminded me of like 80s movies, which is like, I kind of wanted to see more of that. But like one of the main dragon in this movie is kind of a joke, and I was just very disappointed in that because like it just wasn't that funny of a joke, and I'm just like, come on, like this is 2023. Can we just maybe not do jokes about that? It's like, come on. But overall, this movie is a blast. The acting's great. Their chemistry is great throughout. It's honestly just a fun and funny movie throughout. It doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't dumb down the material. And it just kind of makes it accessible for someone like me who has never played the game. And it's just a really good time. Even though I didn't really care for some of the use of some of the characters, and also is disappointed in the dragons themselves. I would still recommend seeing this. I'll give Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, is there any other good movie based off a game? Probably not. We just got 2, Dungeons and Dragons and Mario. Interesting. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.